we thought that we would launch this platform, Engage with the Page, with a book that you can launch your word inquiry with. Perfect for the Northern Hemisphere as the school year is about to start, but actually a book that you can use at any time of the year.
And we'd love to share as our first book, this gorgeous book with you called The Word Collector, and it's by Peter H. Reynolds. And when Fiona and Ange and I were talking, we all agreed that this is a great book to launch word inquiry with your students. So we'd like to just give you a couple of ideas that you might like to try in the classroom, whether you're face-to-face or online, like I know Ange and I are starting off the year in that manner this year. So one way that I've used this with my students in lower elementary is, of course, to just enjoy the book first, and then maybe on the second read, just have a close look at the word collect. And we can engage our students by looking for different words in the collect family. So the word collect comes up quite a few times in the book because Jerome is a collector of words. So we can talk to students about words that belong in the same family and that they share meaning and that they share the same structure or the same spelling. So you can go on a word hunt through the book with your students and find other words that have the base collect that share the same meaning and structure. So you'll find the word collects. Jerome collects lots of words. You might find the word collection. It's also in there. So this is a great way to introduce the idea of word families to your students and just getting them interested in looking closer at words.
And also, I think, Lauren, you'd agree that it's got some interesting suffixes. So it's not just ed, ing, and s, which of course we want to introduce to our youngest learners early on, but there's that or for collector, which will be interesting to look at and see if you can find that in any other words, and you know, a couple of other interesting suffixes there. And I think this is also a book that I think you could use with older children. I don't know if any of you have used it with older children in your schools, but even though it's a fairly, you know, seemingly simple picture book, it's got some great ideas in there and some fabulous words. And when we look at the base, fantastic to go to find words in the collect family. And you know, with older or more experienced children, you might even dig in to see, is collect actually a base, or might there be a prefix and the base? And we could go a little deeper with that. And thinking about the meaning of the word collect, of course, and it comes, you know, I believe from a Latin word, which is to gather, which is what we're doing when we're collecting. So Ange, have you ever used it with older children?
Yeah, so I've used this book with our youngest students right up into 5th grade. And it's just been a great one to kick off the year. For one reason, it just reminds us that we are all word collectors. So Jerome might have a collection of words and we might too throughout the year. It's a great way to set up an area in your room where you're putting different words that you've noticed or collected and building up your affixes. My husband's hammering in the background, hold on. So having taught across a range of age levels, I've actually had students choose a word for them for the year. So for older students, they each chose a word that they wanted to represent what they wanted this year to be a wish for the year. And for younger students, we looked at a bunch of words and chose as a class. And then a carry on from that, of course, is that the students could look at words in their family. So if they've chosen the word awesome, what could be in the awesome family? Or if they've chosen the word fun, what could be in the fun family?
And even looking at some of the words in the book, because there's just so many different words in the book. And that is another thing that I love about it, that there's some really, you know, quite straightforward words, which would be perfect to look at with younger students, you know, like powerful. And then we could be introducing the FUL suffix, and you could even investigate, do you think the base of powerful is pow? Or is that ER part of the base, is it power? Which would lead to great discussions, which is what we love in word inquiry. And another word that caught my eye when I was rereading it today was vociferous. You know, if you've got an older class that are really already quite skilled in looking for the base in words, that's a pretty interesting word, because you know, if you're vociferous, that to be speaking emphatically about something, you know, loudly and perhaps passionately, whether or not that's positive or negative, but you know, it has two bases in there. So that VOC part comes from the Latin, which has a sense of voice, and we see that in the word vocal, and then the FER, to carry, to bear, or to carry. So, you know, that voice is being carried out quite loudly in the word vociferous. So I think, you know, you can take some of the individual words in the book as well and dig into them, be they simple or more complex.
And it's great, Fiona, because they do come up with a lot of words that they're not sure of the base. And then it, again, goes with that idea of that we don't have all the answers, and it's okay. We can leave that and keep inquiring into it throughout the year.
And always remembering that an incomplete analysis is okay, an incorrect one is not. So if you're not sure of the smaller parts, go with the bigger bit. Like collect is perfect. I know that there's a base actually within that, but do we need to dig that deeply? Not at all. Look at all the fabulous words in the family and all the learning that can happen by taking the word collect and then seeing if we can add suffixes and maybe even a prefix to collect.
This is also a great book if you are moving into distance learning to start your year, because it is available online and it's read by the Obamas. So a great option for you to have access to a book if you don't have it right at your fingertips.
Another great resource is Peter Reynolds actually has his own little website called wordcollector.org. And there's some great resources on there and some ideas that you might like to try. You can also get families involved with finding words in books and collecting them and inquiring into them. And you'll also find the link to the Obamas reading the story on that website. So it's a really good resource if you don't have the book at your fingertips.
Story as we wrap this up today, the sentence that I really think is perfect for what we're doing is in this book. And so the sentence, the more words he knew, the more clearly he could share with the world what he was feeling, thinking, and dreaming. And isn't that exactly what we want for our children, to be able to communicate what they're feeling, thinking, and dreaming? And words can certainly help us with that.